Todd with the Reason Files. Today, we're going to take a listen to a recent interview with Pastor Manly Perry from Old Path Baptist Church. Also, I'd like to state for the record that by Pastor Manly Perry talking with me, he no way endorses me or the Reason Files. He is just simply answering some questions. We touched on several issues, including Adam Fannin, Stephen Anderson, and the current attacks that are being launched against him in Old Path Baptist Church. And we will allow the listeners to draw their own conclusions. I'm appalled by all the attack videos on you.
Yeah, man, it's kind of crazy. It really is. These guys they hear what they want to hear instead of what I'm actually saying and what I'm actually preaching. So, but
just give a response to, how they're treating you in this ungodly manner.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty apparent. I think people can figure it out on their own. They're acting insane, and I wouldn't go down and mess with somebody at the insane asylum that was saying lies about me, would I? So why would I waste time on these guys? I got a local church I'm trying to take care of, buddy. We had 47 first-time visitors last week. I got somebody just called me, a convert of mine that I got saved a couple months ago and visited our church a time or two, and he just called me. He's expecting my call here in a little bit. I'm gonna call him and take care of him. So these guys can say whatever they want to say. I'm an independent Baptist. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. God knows the truth. So
I certainly believe that. He certainly does know the truth. And they're persecuting you and making railing accusations. And I mean, can you now, being removed a couple years, can you relate on how Adam Fannin felt back a couple years ago when they did this very same thing to him?
Yes. It's another thing. It's pretty ironic too that they used YouTube subscribers as a badge of spirituality, and Adam Fannin's got more YouTube subscribers than they all have put together. So there you go.
Yeah,
I find that pretty ironic.
I did inquire and ask Pastor Manning about some of the issues going on at Faithful Word Baptist Church with Anderson and his kids and other craziness. He elected not to comment on some issues, but we're going to jump ahead here. Let's listen.
But I tell you what it is, though. The way these guys are attacking me and undermining, my authority and undermining me, calling me manly and all this bunch of, I believe they will reap that in their children. The lack of respect for God's pastors, and I believe they will reap that in their children. So I do believe that they will. I'm not saying anything about the current situation, but I do believe they will reap this in their children.
Yeah,
it's very possible that they would.
Yeah. Aaron Thompson at his church put up a guy by the name of Dylan Alls, and he did nothing but rail on you and Dr. Sam Gipp and a couple other people, and that's all the sermon was. Are you familiar with that fella?
There's an old saying: whatever you win them to, you have to keep them with.
Right.
And they won a lot of their followers with these soap opera style shock jock sermons, and now they have to keep them with that. So that's what what it boils down to. Whatever you win them to, you have to keep them with. So, they're soap opera style sermons. Someone said that Jonathan Shelley preached on Adam Fannin 27 times. Don't quote me on that. I'm not for sure. That's just what I was told.
Quite a few times, yes.
So now I'm the. They say that I use them. Well, they're using me. I mean, good night. Look at all their sermon material.
Right.
And they're using me for their sermon material. And it's almost like if these guys don't have somebody to preach against, they don't have nothing to preach.
That sounds very accurate.
Yeah, I like what my friend Tim DeLillo said, who I do believe is qualified to be a pastor, by the way.
Okay.
You know, they say that, look, if adoption is not a legitimate process, if adoption doesn't make you a legitimate child, then I'm not saved. You know, because I was adopted. That makes me a legitimate child of God, right?
Absolutely.
So they try to say that his children aren't legitimate. But anyway, you know, he said that pastors are not full-time wolf hunters. They're supposed to kill a wolf when it comes near a flock. Their main purpose is to feed the flock. And there's no way you can feed a flock on their soap opera style sermons. Supposed to. But what I'm trying to tell you is, it's weird how they preach the same sermons in their pulpits. I mean, that's like what the Watchtower does. You know, the Watchtower tells what a person has to preach from the pulpit. So I ain't got time for their junk. You know, the whole point I was trying to make earlier was I got a local church to attend to. God's blessing us. We had a soul winning revival last week. We broke our attendance record. We had 153 first time. We had 153 in attendance, and we had 47 first time visitors. God did that. God showed up in the midst of a storm, and God did that. And that's all glory be to God. No credit to man whatsoever. That's all glory be to God. And I got a lot of things to take care of right here in San Antonio, so I'm not worried about what these guys say. I'm not worried about what these guys do. I'm an independent Baptist pastor. Honestly, it was a mistake. It was a huge mistake for me to ever get involved with this crowd, and I regret it. And you know, I was involved with them for about 2.5 years, and it was a huge mistake. And you know, the only reason why I even had anything to do with them was because, you know, I felt like Pastor Anderson was a good friend of mine. You know, I thought he was a good friend, and I tried to be a good friend to him, and he had been a good friend to me, and I was turned off by the denominationalism. I was turned off by the disorderly conduct. I was turned off by a lot of things, but I said, you know what, I don't want to turn my back on a friend. Pastor Anderson, I considered a good friend, so that's why I kind of just went along, turned the other cheek. But Pastor Anderson told me he didn't want to be my friend anymore. I called him out. I confronted him on a couple of issues. I confronted him about teaming up with Calvinists, and I also confronted him about some comments he made on the King James Bible, and he said he didn't want to be my friend anymore. And that gave me liberty to go away. I tried to go away quietly, but they wouldn't let me to, and that's also cultish. Why can't a person just decide they don't want to have anything to do with the new IFB anymore and leave? I mean, why can't that happen?
Because it's a cult.
A lot of cultish behavior. A lot of cultish behavior here. Nobody can leave quietly without being blackballed and, you know, excommunicated and, you know, marked, and, you know, it's a lot of cultish behavior here. So honestly, I'm ashamed and embarrassed to ever had anything to do with it.
And there you have it. Reason files out.